Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
British Spy Stories Season 6 Counter-Strike Episode 9. The still midday air clings to Tom Beecham as he stands at the edge of one of the service roads inside Tidworth Camp. He hasn't smoked for 5 years because Lara doesn't like it. But he cadged one from his fellow officer just now, when he felt the old craving gnawing at his throat again. He blows smoke out and takes a deep breath. His mind hasn't stopped rolling around with ideas and adventure since the drink with Ilin 2 nights ago. Tom had taken an instant dislike to the man the first time they met in Salisbury. But on their second meeting, Ilin had become threatening, and this whole thing feels like it's getting out of Tom's control. There are certain red lines that he has already decided upon in his gut. Firstly, his tank crew must remain alive, so there'll have to be a contrived gas attack inside the Challenger 4 that will keep them unconscious for the duration of the entire event. Afterwards they'll wake up somewhere and not know anything about what has happened. The second red line is that he will continue with his life, married to Lara, and as a British Army captain. He's not prepared to throw that away. Thirdly, this will be the only mission that he will do as a sleeper spy for Russia. Stealing the tank is his payment for this new life that he has, as Tom Beecham in the UK. Captain Rob Lee appears from the office block opposite on his way to a meeting about battlefield medic support. Are you all right? He stops next to Tom. Smoking kills, you know that. Feeling stressed, are we? No more than usual, Rob. Baby on the way and everything, you know. They laugh, but hardly at all. I saw Lara in the mess last night with that new girl, says Rob. She's pretty. I might pop in tonight and see if they're there again. Tom looks at his friend. Rob, I'll do a deal with you. I want to get some practice on the firing range. Don't want to get rusty, you know. You come with me to the range this afternoon and we'll go to the mess tonight. What do you mean, getting rusty? Rob's eyes narrow slightly. Have you heard something? Are we being deployed? No, I just want to make sure that I'm in top shape, you know. I haven't fired a handgun in anger for 6 months. Rob starts to walk away. All right, 1,500 hours at the range. I'll see you there. Then drinks in the mess. I said you needed to go there more often. At 6 p.m, the sergeant on duty in the officers' mess salutes Tom and Rob as they walk in. They're standing at the bar ordering a round when Lara and a woman with dark hair appear in the doorway, and they walk towards them. This is Millie. Tom offers to buy drinks while the women go to find corner seating. Told you, says Rob. His eyes explore Loxby as she walks away. Is she single? No idea, mate. Ask her. The men carry the drinks over. What barracks have you worked in before? Nowhere military. Just offices and things. How did you get this job then? Rob watches her. My agency emailed me about it, like always, says Loxby. She wants to move the focus away from her fictional life. So you're a tank commander, Tom? Lara said. You like it? Love it. It's the only job I've ever wanted. You were at Oxford? How'd you know that then? He says. Lara tends to look at Loxby as well, pulling her eyebrows together. Loxby can feel her heart quicken at the error of revealing too much of the briefing material in conversations. Lara must have said, What did you study? History and politics. You political? Loxby sips her Sauvignon Blanc. No. Tom can feel his body react to the question. Me neither, she says. The outside edges of her eyes smile. What do you like doing outside work? A bit of running. Lara can tell that he's becoming guarded now. Do you do that with other people or on your own? Says Loxby. Alone? Is this a job interview? Says Rob, laughing. Loxby changes the subject and talks about her fictional boyfriend who wants to join the army, much to Rob's disappointment. When they finish their drinks, she volunteers to get the next round, but Rob has to go. You don't like her, do you? Says Lara to Tom, as they look at Loxby standing at the bar on the far side of the room. Nosy, isn't she? It's just chat. I thought the same on her first day. She was asking me if anyone was untrustworthy in the offices. She's a bit obsessed with the whole idea that what we do is confidential. But she hasn't been on a military base before. When she returns, Lara has to go to the bathroom, leaving Loxby alone with Tom. Given the time pressure of 10 days to get some sort of progress, Loxby needs to test this man. She recalls his biography from the research documents she read in London at the start of this operation. So she decides to pick away at parts of the story that the AI software in GCHQ flagged as Category C, those facts in his background that appear slightly opaque. Lara said you grew up in Norfolk? Great Yarmouth. I love it there, she says. Sun, sea and sand. What's that road called that runs along by the pier? Marine Avenue. That's incorrect, she knows, and continues her strategy. Funny you said about Oxford earlier. My friend was there. He's about your age. He was at Newnham College. She waits for him to correct her mistake, as Newnham is a women's college in Cambridge. Loxby drinks to give him time, but he says nothing. After a moment, she says, So you're allocated to the Challenger 4? I can't talk about that. I see everything anyway. It all goes across Andy's desk. She intentionally doesn't call the commanding officer by his rank, to rile Tom into reacting. But he only drinks some beer and doesn't speak. It looks good, the tank. I've only seen the plans, of course. She smiles, but he still doesn't bite. Then suddenly he does speak. Why all the questions? I'm interested in people, and I'm the new girl. You all know each other. I know nothing about you. Who are you? Millie, she says. His eyes are burning. Lara reappears from the ladies' bathroom, walks across to them and sits back down. So, what are we talking about? She says, and the others look uncomfortable. By the time the wall clock in the mess shows 9 p.m., the three of them decide to leave. Tom had switched to Cokes after 2 beers so he can drive them home, but he's remained on edge all evening. Loxby is booked into the White Hart Hotel in Salisbury for the duration of this operation. That hotel is only a few minutes away from Tom and Lara's house on Trinity Street. It's a coincidence, but Tom can't believe it. He's suspicious now, and his mind isn't going to let it go. As the night wraps itself around the houses of the city, Tom pulls up at the curb and he steps out onto the pavement to let Loxby out of the rear seats. She disappears inside the hotel, and he sits back down in the driver's seat. You've been bloody miserable all evening, says Lara. Tom's not listening. He's only thinking about whether this Millie girl is all she seems. If she's a military policewoman, then he needs to ensure that she doesn't spoil everything. He was taught to kill in Moscow as part of Colonel Golovkin's training. And if he has to add another death to his tally, to ensure that he can continue to live as an ordinary man, then so be it. The house in Prague is utterly silent, as Inessa and her daughter sit on the sofa by the window, that overlooks the front garden. The last faint memories of today's daylight hang in the sky above them. "What's going to happen to us, Mama?" Lydia looks at her face. "We'll be looked after." "You said we'd be killed." Lydia frowns. "Not if we stay here with Samuel to protect us." "He's just a hired gun," says the daughter. "He doesn't care about us. He'll do anything for money. That's why he's here. He told me." Inessa drinks some of the brandy from her glass in her fingers. "Did you tell Papa that Maxim is gone?" "No," says Inessa. "He doesn't need to know that." "Are you protecting him?" "Papa?" The daughter nods. "He doesn't need my protection. We'll never be the same again, will we, Mama? My childhood's over just like that. Nothing's changed, Doshenka." Inessa uses the Russian word for my little girl. "I just want it all to be over. I just want my friends back and an ordinary life again." She puts her head on her mother's lap for a minute, then says, "I'm tired, Mama. I'm going up." Lydia kisses her mother on the cheek and drifts up the stairs. As she sits in her bedroom, her heart is beating faster than she has ever felt it beat. After the funeral yesterday, Radek was inconsolable. He had taken her to a dirty little bar in the back streets of Prague that he said was his favourite. He'd bought beers for them, but Lydia refused, as her only experience with alcohol in the 16 years of her life so far had been the odd glass of wine that her father gave her with Sunday lunch in Moscow. The boy had been sad at first about the death of his friends. Then his emotions grew into anger, and he ranted at her, long after the time that she wanted him to stop talking like that. He became more hopeful. His mind turned to the future, and he talked about what he called his big plans. But Lydia could see that they were little more than unstructured dreams. The biggest idea in his head was escape to somewhere, anywhere that would allow him to start again. He must have asked her a dozen times to go with him. She had said no at first. Then she'd stopped responding, and he hadn't noticed. Lydia's been expecting a message from Radek all evening, and when she feels her phone buzzing in the back pocket of her jeans, it doesn't surprise her. But the message itself is a shock. He's in the garden of the house. Lydia's hand curls around the handle of her bedroom door, and she pulls it open. She listens, not moving at first. The sound of the television rolls up from the sitting room downstairs. Lydia steps across the hallway as quietly as she can, then starts to drop down to the ground floor. For each step she takes, she stops and listens to avoid making the 100-year-old floorboards creak and give the game away. There's a long corridor that leads from the hallway past the kitchen and all the way to the storerooms and cupboards that Veronica uses. The door to the kitchen halfway down the corridor is open, and a radio is playing jazz. Lydia inches closer to the doorway. Veronica and Samuel are talking about nothing of consequence when she listens. She holds her breath, then just walks past the open door. Lydia gets the briefest glimpse into the kitchen, and neither of them sees her. The garden door at the far end of the corridor is unlocked, and she swings it open in the moonlight, then regrets not bringing her coat, as it's colder out here than she realized. She'd replied to Radek and told him to meet in the pavilion. That's where she'd first met Samuel a few nights ago. That seems like weeks. Radek's here in the shadows, with a backpack at his feet that is stuffed full. He kisses her on the lips, like he had done after he'd walked her home yesterday. "Come with me," he says immediately. "I can't." She's made up her mind. "Why?" "Maxim's gone. Mama would be on her own." "You don't owe her anything. She lied to you about being in danger. She's just looking out for herself." "You don't know her." Lydia feels like she can say anything because of her pounding heart. Then she shivers. "You're cold," he says. and pulls off his jacket. He drapes it across her shoulders, and Lydia pulls it tighter around her body. From the shadows near the house, Samuel is watching them now. I need to get away. I'll be killed next. They've killed 2 of my friends already. Where will you go? He shrugs. Paris for the summer, like we said. She can't help her eyes smiling. You've got no school, he says. We could go for a few weeks. Tell your mama we've gone on holiday. Then you can come back before school starts. I don't think I'm going back to school in Moscow. Then I can make sure you get back to wherever you're living. This thing with your father will all be sorted soon. And they'll buy a new house somewhere. I can drop you back there. He wraps his arms around her, and they stand in silence. Then after a moment, the boy continues. If you won't come and stay with me, just come for the journey. I'll end up somewhere, then you can come straight back. I've got some cash. You can return on the train. He looks down at her face, then leans down and kisses her again. She blinks slowly. Okay, just the journey, she says. I need to go and get my stuff. Lydia runs back across the grass and in through the back door. In her room, she pulls her school backpack from the cupboard, empties everything from it onto the bed, and starts to repack it with clothes and the things that she most values. As he waits for her, Radek paces around and around in the garden, making the circuit bigger each time. The clouds have obscured the moonlight now, and the garden is darker and colder than it had been when she'd been talking to him. On his 10th lap of the garden, he approaches the trees at the far end, then turns around to face the house. There's enough light for him to see the back door, slowly slotting back into its frame, pulled by the auto closer. Someone's just come outside. It must be her. Radek starts to quicken his pace, and he gets halfway up the garden, then feels an enormous pain on the back of his head. And the light suddenly fades. Samuel throws the spade away on the grass after hitting the boy with it. He doesn't know him, but he saw Lydia with this boy earlier, when he was putting the kitchen waste out into the dustbins. He grabs the boy's arms and drags him down the garden and into the woods. He feels for a pulse on the boy's neck, and he's alive. Samuel drags him further into the trees until they're near the back gate that leads up Petrin Hill. Lydia checks the content of her backpack for the 3rd time, flicking through the different clothes that she may need for sunny, rainy, and cold days. She turns off her bedroom light and opens the door to the hallway again. There's no television sound now. Her mother must have gone to bed. Lydia heaves the backpack onto her shoulder and descends the stairs. She runs out and across from the back door and into the pavilion, but Radek isn't there. She looks around the garden, but he's nowhere to be seen. Radek! Radek! She calls gently, trying to be loud enough for him to hear her, but quiet enough not to be heard by anyone else. Lydia tours the garden again, and gradually her heart changes from excited to aching. After 10 minutes, she reluctantly walks to the back door of the house and disappears inside. From the edge of the trees, Samuel watches the door close slowly behind her, grabs the boy's wrists, then he turns back into the woods.